Jungkook's sharp voice broke the silence of the recording room, and in that instant, fans around the world froze. Was he actually reprimanding Jimin? The moment, brief yet electric, has ignited a storm of speculation across the fandom. What could have compelled the usually calm and restrained Jungkook to issue such an uncharacteristic warning to one of his closest companions? And more importantly, what was Jimin about to reveal that made Jungkook intervene so quickly? These questions have left ARMY restless, dissecting every second of footage that surfaced from the studio. The atmosphere that should have been defined by creativity and collaboration instead turned into one of tension, unease, and shocking restraint. The incident began with what seemed like a routine studio session. Cameras caught Jimin, V, and Jungkook gathered together, headphones in place, preparing for what fans assumed was the recording of a new track. Excitement was palpable the moment the video leaked. Fans believed they were witnessing the early stages of a long-awaited musical release. But what happened next was far from celebratory. As Jimin began to speak, his tone casual, his words almost slipping into unfamiliar territory, Jungkook's expression hardened. In a swift and unmistakable gesture, he cut him off. His voice, firm but not loud, carried weight far beyond the studio walls. IT was not simply an interruption, it was a clear and deliberate caution. Fans who replayed the moment repeatedly insist that Jimin appeared to be on the verge of hinting at an unreleased song, perhaps even revealing lyrics or melody details that were meant to remain confidential. Jungkook's interjection was immediate, almost instinctual, as though he recognized the danger before anyone else in the room. For the millions of ARMY watching, this was no ordinary interaction. It was a rare glimpse of discipline and hierarchy between two members often portrayed as equals and best friends. The clip has sparked a wave of theories that only intensifies with each passing hour. Some argue Jungkook was merely protecting the group's secrecy, stepping in before Jimin unintentionally spoiled a project months in the making. Others see something far heavier at play, a relationship under strain, a dynamic no longer as effortless as fans once believed. The silence that followed Jungkook's intervention only fueled this narrative. Instead of laughter, instead of reassurance, the room seemed to thicken with unspoken tension. V tried, unsuccessfully, to lighten the atmosphere with a short laugh, but even that could not erase the unease. What makes this moment particularly painful for fans is its contrast with the history of Jungkook and Jimin's bond. For years, they have embodied one of the group's most celebrated friendships, playful, affectionate, and openly supportive. Their connection has been documented in countless videos, from late-night live streams where Jungkook leaned comfortably on Jimin's shoulder, to performances where a shared smile between them seemed to radiate warmth across entire arenas. To witness them in a studio together, yet seemingly so distant, has left many ARMY members unsettled, questioning whether time and pressure have begun to erode one of BTS's most cherished dynamics. The fandom has split sharply in its interpretation. One side argues this is nothing more than professional vigilance. Recording sessions demand focus, and Jungkook, known for his perfectionism, may have acted purely to protect the integrity of their upcoming release. In this reading, his stern tone was not a reprimand of Jimin personally, but rather a defensive move against an accidental slip. The other side, however, insists the interaction revealed cracks beneath the surface. The absence of eye contact, the heaviness in their silence, and Jimin's subdued expression afterward all suggest more than a simple work-related warning. To these fans, Jungkook's response carried emotional weight, not just professional concern. Adding further complexity to the debate is Jimin's increasing closeness with V. In the very same footage, Jimin appeared more relaxed when speaking with V, occasionally smiling or responding with quiet laughter. Jungkook, in contrast, remained detached, absorbed in his equipment, avoiding the kind of casual warmth that once defined his interactions with Jimin. This shift has not gone unnoticed by the fandom, with some speculating that emotional alliances within the group are subtly changing. Theories abound. Has Jimin turned to V for comfort in a way that leaves Jungkook feeling excluded? Or is Jungkook intentionally withdrawing, sending a silent message about his dissatisfaction? The most startling interpretation circulating among fans is that Jungkook's stern interjection was not just about the song but about principle. He has always been protective of BTS's creative process, viewing premature leaks or spoilers as a breach of trust with both the team and the fans. In this sense, Jimin's near slip might have struck a nerve far deeper than anyone expected. To Jungkook, maintaining secrecy may be more than a professional necessity. It may be a matter of respect and loyalty. His reaction, then, was not simply about preventing a mistake, but about defending values he considers non-negotiable. Still, the fandom cannot ignore the emotional undertones. This isn't the Jimin and Jungkook we know, one fan wrote, echoing the sentiment of thousands. Even when they were exhausted, there was always warmth. Now it feels like they're strangers sharing the same room. Comparisons to past footage have only deepened the sense of loss. Edits of concerts where Jungkook embraced Jimin from behind are now being paired with the studio clip, captioned with haunting questions. What happened to us? The juxtaposition has left fans not only nostalgic but deeply uneasy, torn between hope that this is a temporary phase and fear that the distance is permanent. Theories continue to spiral, some suggesting that creative disagreements lie at the heart of the conflict. Perhaps Jungkook and Jimin differ on the musical direction of their new work. Others whisper of fatigue, the immense pressure of sustaining global dominance while navigating personal growth. For a group that has thrived on unity, even the smallest sign of fracture feels monumental. Whether the tension stems from professional stress, shifting friendships, or personal disagreements, the fandom is convinced that something significant has shifted beneath the polished surface. What is undeniable is that this moment has become far larger than the clip itself. It has transformed into a symbol, a reflection of fans' deepest anxieties about change, about the fragility of bonds they once believed unbreakable. Jungkook's reprimand of Jimin, small as it may seem, has shattered the illusion of seamless harmony. It has reminded ARMY that even within the most celebrated brotherhood, silence can speak louder than words. Now the question remains, was this simply a protective gesture in the name of music, or was it the public surfacing of tensions long hidden? Until new footage or direct words from the members emerge, the fandom will continue to speculate, dissect, and debate. For now, the silence after Jungkook's stern warning is deafening, and ARMY cannot help but wonder if that silence is temporary, or if it marks the beginning of an irreversible shift. The fallout from Jungkook's reprimand has only intensified as fans rewatch the footage frame by frame, searching for meaning in every glance, every pause, every gesture. What might have been dismissed as a minor studio interaction has instead become a focal point of global discussion. For ARMY, the silence between Jungkook and Jimin is no longer just an absence of words. It is a heavy presence that demands interpretation. Social media timelines are flooded with analysis, some claiming that Jungkook's decision to speak up reflected his natural role as the group's protector, while others insist it was a public revelation of private strain. The tension is amplified by the timing. Speculation about a new BTS release is already at fever pitch, and the idea that Jimin nearly leaked a track adds a dangerous edge to the narrative. The most unsettling question is not about the song but about their bond. Fans who once celebrated their closeness now fear that this silence marks a deeper divide. Theories range from creative clashes to emotional distance, with some pointing to Jimin's seemingly stronger rapport with V as a possible factor. In the leaked clip, Jimin's laughter with V contrasted sharply with his subdued demeanor around Jungkook, a detail that fans cannot overlook. Theories of shifting alliances within BTS are gaining traction, with speculation that personal dynamics are evolving in ways fans were never meant to see. While some argue these changes are natural, others view them as alarming signs that the unshakable foundation of BTS may be showing cracks. Still, not all interpretations lean toward conflict. A sizable part of the fandom believes Jungkook acted purely out of professionalism, reminding Jimin, firmly but respectfully, that certain details cannot be revealed prematurely. To them, the moment is proof not of distance but of dedication, a sign that Jungkook is as committed as ever to protecting their work. Yet even this view cannot erase the visual evidence of silence, the striking absence of casual warmth that once defined their friendship. For every fan who sees vigilance, another sees estrangement. What is certain is that the incident has left a lasting mark. Jungkook's stern warning and Jimin's abrupt quietness afterward are now etched into the collective memory of ARMY, sparking fears, questions, and a deep unease. Until clarity emerges, the fandom remains caught between hope and doubt, torn by the possibility that one of BTS's strongest bonds may be entering uncharted territory. Under the glaring lights of the recording studio, what appeared to be a fleeting exchange between Jungkook and Jimin has spiraled into a global debate, forcing ARMY and casual observers alike to question not only the meaning of this single incident, but also the reliability of the narratives being constructed around it. Did Jungkook truly reprimand Jimin in defense of secrecy, or has this moment been magnified beyond recognition by the relentless machinery of online speculation? The tension lies not only in the silence between two individuals, but also in the cacophony of interpretations surrounding it. The leaked footage, circulating across TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and various media outlets, has been replayed endlessly, dissected to the point where milliseconds of eye movement are treated as revelations. But what if the evidence itself is deceptive? Can a few seconds of video capture the entirety of a relationship? Or are fans projecting their own anxieties onto a fragment of reality? The question lingers. Are we witnesses to an authentic rupture in one of BTS's most celebrated friendships? Or participants in a narrative carefully crafted to fuel attention, discussion, and emotional investment? It is crucial to reflect on the timing of this supposed confrontation. Why did the footage emerge now, just as whispers of a potential new BTS release have begun to swell? Is it coincidence? Or is the release of this clip a deliberate maneuver, designed to stoke anticipation and keep global interest alive? If it is deliberate, then who benefits from such a leak? The artists themselves, the management, or the media ecosystems that thrive on sensationalism? And if it is accidental, how plausible is it that one of the world's most tightly managed groups could allow such an intimate and potentially damaging moment to slip into the public domain without oversight? One must also consider the emotional investment of the fandom. ARMY has long been the lifeblood of BTS's global influence, responding with intensity to even the smallest gestures or silences. Could this very devotion be exploited, knowingly or unknowingly, to amplify intrigue? If the clip is authentic, then the silence between Jungkook and Jimin demands attention. Yet if it is manufactured or strategically leaked, then the fandom has been drawn into a drama that may have little grounding in reality. Which of these possibilities is more unsettling? The notion of a genuine fracture, or the possibility of manipulation on a global scale? Every angle of this debate demands scrutiny. Some insist Jungkook's stern intervention reflects nothing more than professionalism, his instinct to guard the secrecy of an unreleased track. Others argue that the body language, averted eyes, heavy silence, physical detachment, reveals something far deeper. But can silence alone serve as evidence of estrangement? Or are we imposing meaning where none exists, mistaking concentration for coldness, professionalism for hostility? If fans are reading distance into neutral expressions, what does this reveal about the human tendency to construct narratives from limited data? Moreover, what responsibility do media platforms bear in amplifying these interpretations? Algorithms prioritize drama, conflict, and controversy, rewarding content that provokes emotional reactions. When fans edit past moments of warmth between Jungkook and Jimin alongside the coldness of the recent clip, are they uncovering truth or fabricating a storyline that aligns with their fears? Is the nostalgia weaponized to produce heartbreak and speculation? Or does it genuinely reflect an irreversible change in the bond between the two members? The issue extends beyond BTS, striking at the heart of media literacy itself. In an era where every gesture is magnified and every silence analyzed, how can audiences distinguish fact from fiction, sincerity from strategy? If this event is real, then it offers a sobering reminder that even the strongest bonds can strain under pressure. But if it is orchestrated, then it exposes the susceptibility of global audiences to manipulation through selective framing. Which possibility is more alarming? That Jungkook and Jimin are genuinely distant, or that we are being led to believe they are distant for the sake of engagement? It is equally important to ask, why do we, as audiences, demand such clarity from moments that may not belong to us? What entitles us to dissect a private interaction between two individuals, and what risks arise when speculation replaces verified truth? Does our insistence on answers say more about the idols or about ourselves? In seeking certainty, are we participating in the very sensationalism we claim to resist? If so, how complicit are we in sustaining a cycle where speculation thrives while truth remains elusive? At the heart of this debate lies a fundamental question. What do we truly know? The sources of this narrative are fragments, short clips on TikTok, speculative threads on Twitter, reaction videos on YouTube. None provide a comprehensive account. All demand verification. Yet these fragments, amplified by the collective imagination of a global fandom, have already solidified into a story treated by many as fact. Should we accept this construction at face value, or should we resist it, demanding verifiable evidence before drawing conclusions? This moment, therefore, is not only about Jungkook and Jimin, but about the audience itself. Do we allow ourselves to be carried by the tide of speculation, or do we pause, reflect, and confront the uncomfortable possibility that we may never know the truth? Do we value emotional narratives over factual clarity, or can we learn to live with ambiguity? The provocation lies here. Perhaps the silence between Jungkook and Jimin is less important than the noise we have created around it. The questions remain. Is this incident a genuine fracture or a carefully engineered spectacle? Is the silence an authentic expression of tension, or a silence deliberately placed before us to generate discourse? And most critically, what does our reaction reveal about the ways we consume media, construct meaning, and project our desires onto others? Until clarity is provided, the burden falls on us to reflect, to question, and to resist the temptation of easy answers that in the end, the story may not be about Jungkook's reprimand of Jimin at all. It may be about us, the audience, our hunger for narrative, our vulnerability to manipulation, and our struggle to distinguish truth from performance in a world where every silence echoes louder than words. The image of Jungkook sternly halting Jimin continues to echo across every corner of social media, amplified by edits, reactions, and thousands of speculative posts. Yet the more this moment spreads, the more urgent a question becomes. Are audiences truly observing reality, or have they been drawn into a narrative that has been exaggerated, distorted, or perhaps even deliberately constructed? The intensity of the debate highlights a troubling dynamic: the power of digital fragments to reshape perception, to transform ambiguity into supposed certainty, and to turn silence into a spectacle. But can silence itself ever serve as definitive evidence of conflict? Or is the real issue the way millions of eyes choose to interpret what they see? When TikTok edits place warm memories of Jungkook embracing Jimin on stage next to the recent studio silence, they construct a contrast designed to provoke emotion. But does this emotional manipulation reflect truth? Or does it merely exploit nostalgia to create drama? Similarly, when Twitter threads compile second-by-second analyses of Jungkook's body language, are they uncovering hidden meaning, or are they assigning intention where none exists? Every clip, every freeze frame, every caption operates as a lens, shaping the way viewers consume the event. But how many of these lenses are trustworthy, and how many distort reality for the sake of virality. Even more unsettling is the timing of the release. Why did this clip surface precisely as speculation about a new BTS project was intensifying? Could it be accidental? Or is it possible that the leak was strategically positioned to keep global attention fixed on the group? If it is intentional, then are audiences not participants in a carefully managed spectacle rather than independent witnesses of truth? And if it is accidental, how plausible is it that a group as meticulously managed as BTS would allow such an intimate, tension-filled moment to escape into public view? These questions demand critical reflection, for they strike at the intersection of authenticity, privacy, and media strategy. The emotional reactions of ARMY are powerful, but they also raise critical questions about vulnerability. If the fandom can be swayed so strongly by a few seconds of ambiguous footage, what does this reveal about the susceptibility of audiences to manipulation? Are fans, through their passion, inadvertently amplifying narratives that may not reflect reality? Does the very intensity of their loyalty create the conditions for exploitation, where emotional bonds are leveraged as tools for engagement? And if so, what responsibility falls on fans to step back, to examine, and to question? This controversy also forces us to reflect on the broader issue of media consumption in the digital age. Platforms like TikTok and Twitter thrive on conflict, pushing the most dramatic interpretations to the top of feeds. The algorithms reward speculation, not accuracy, emotion rather than nuance. Are audiences aware of how their attention is being directed? Do they recognize that each like, share, and retweet may be less about truth and more about fueling a cycle of visibility? The very architecture of these platforms encourages exaggeration, yet audiences often forget this reality when engaging with content. The viral spread of the alleged confrontation between Jungkook and Jimin has now entered a phase where speculation itself has become more powerful than the event it seeks to explain. Every second of the studio clip has been stretched, magnified, and debated to the point that audiences no longer question whether they are analyzing reality or simply staring into a mirror reflecting their own assumptions. The tension has shifted from the studio to the screens of millions, where interpretation has replaced observation and narrative has overtaken fact. But should interpretation ever hold greater weight than verified truth? And when narratives become more persuasive than evidence, do we not risk replacing reality with illusion? Consider the machinery of virality that sustains this debate. On TikTok, slowed-down versions of the clip are captioned with ominous text, suggesting a fracture that may or may not exist. On Twitter, threads of analysis span hundreds of posts, dissecting body language as if silence were a confession. On YouTube, reaction videos gather millions of views by amplifying shock, disappointment, or anger. In every case, the platforms reward emotion over accuracy, sensationalism over sobriety. Is it possible, then, that the so-called incident is less about what happened between Jungkook and Jimin and more about what the algorithms demand we believe happened? The responsibility does not lie solely with technology. Fans, through their participation, shape the weight of the narrative. Every repost, every edit, every nostalgic comparison adds new layers of meaning until the original clip is buried beneath the interpretations it inspired. Yet how many fans pause to ask whether they are reinforcing truth or constructing myth? Does the passion of ARMY empower truth to surface, or does it fuel the very fog of speculation that clouds clarity? If loyalty blinds judgment, can devotion unintentionally become manipulation's greatest ally? The broader implications extend beyond fandom. In a world where information spreads faster than verification, incidents like this one expose a collective vulnerability. How often are we consuming narratives that have been engineered to hold our attention rather than reveal the truth? How often do we accept silence as evidence or absence as meaning, when in fact both may signify nothing? Are we, as global audiences, prepared to confront the uncomfortable reality that we may be complicit in transforming fragments into fictions? Equally pressing is the question of intent. If this clip was leaked deliberately, then we are dealing not with a mistake, but with strategy.
Whose strategy is it?
Does it serve to heighten anticipation for new music, to maintain global relevance, or to spark emotional engagement at a time when silence might otherwise lead to fading attention? If this is the case, then how ethical is it to turn personal dynamics into marketing tools, knowing that millions will dissect every second with genuine emotional investment? And if it is not deliberate, then what failures of control allowed it to spread unchecked? And what does that say about the boundaries between privacy and publicity? These questions remain unanswered, and perhaps they will never be answered with certainty. Yet that uncertainty is itself revealing. It demonstrates the limits of perception in a media environment built on fragments. It shows how easily silence can be weaponized, how quickly loyalty can be exploited, and how effortlessly speculation can overshadow truth. The silence between Jungkook and Jimin may or may not exist, but the noise created around it is undeniable, deafening, and global. As audiences, the challenge is not to demand closure where none exists, but to cultivate skepticism where speculation thrives. The critical question is not whether Jungkook truly reprimanded Jimin, but whether we are capable of resisting the allure of sensationalism. Do we allow algorithms and emotions to dictate our conclusions, or do we demand evidence before belief? Are we consumers of truth, or are we complicit in the manufacture of illusion? Until we answer these questions, every silence will risk becoming a story, and every story may risk becoming a hoax.